Hello, everyone. Welcome to Beyond Life Paranormal Podcast. I'm your host, Russell Reynolds, and we got a good show tonight. We're back again on this Saturday. Um, Before we introduce our guest and bring him on, just want to talk a little bit about the Rock Island Roadhouse Expo Paracon that's coming up in October. Um, all the festivities start Friday, October 3rd at a bonfire. You can get your tickets at $40. Listen about spirit squatches and stories around the campfire with special edition CE5. You can get your tickets at extremeticketing.com, which is part of the Get Haunted. Also, if you're wondering about the Devils on the Run tour, they will be there. Annabelle, the Warren's Occult Museum, they will be there. Wade, Tony, Chris, and I believe Rick will also be there as well with them. So come check that out. If you're interested in volunteering, they are looking for volunteers. So reach out to Candy Slater, Sarah, and Kaylee from Get Haunted if you're interested in volunteering. We are going to be there as well at the Rock Island Roadhouse Historic Expo. We will be down in the basement area along with my guest tonight, who will also be there. And my guest tonight is Bill Bryan from Empty Casket Paranormal. He owns a talking board museum, as well as he's a paranormal investigator, equipment builder. I had the opportunity to meet Bill and Tanya at Missouri State Penitentiary at the Get Haunted event. Got to investigate with Bill quite a bit, and so I decided to bring him on the show so we can talk tonight about his talking board museum, some of the equipment he builds, and so without further ado, we're not going to keep him backstage for very long here, and we're going to bring him on. Hey, Bill, welcome to the show.
Hey, Russell, thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. So tell my audience a little bit about yourselves, the ones that aren't familiar with you out here in the Midwest.
Yeah, so I am one of the owners of Empty Casket Paranormal. My fiance Tanya and I started that back in 2000. I'm sorry, 2020, COVID year, and we had gone to Gettysburg and did some ghost hunting there. Uh, both of us had been ghost hunting prior to that. I've been doing it since I was in college. She grew up and still lives in a haunted house. And after that trip to Gettysburg, we just decided we need to do this all the time. So we started Empty Casket Paranormal. Fast forward a year, I'm an electrical engineer, so I started making my own equipment for us. And I met Rob from Get Haunted, and he convinced me to start selling equipment. So now I sell equipment too. And then over the years, I've amassed a very, very large collection of Ouija boards. And to justify that, as well as educate the public, we started doing a traveling talking board museum.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that because I know we had talked a little bit at the Get Haunted event about your talking board museum
Mm-hmm.
and how you educate people on it. How do you educate people on how to use it safely without having something darker come through or people getting scared and not closing it out?
Well, one of the things that, I'll step back a ways and let you know how it started because it all ties in. So I was always very much against Ouija boards, afraid of them, wouldn't have them in the house, wouldn't touch one. Um, but the more I got into the paranormal and started doing more of this stuff, I started to realize that there was really no difference between using a Ouija board and doing pendulums or dowsing rods or even using a REM pod or a K2, an EVP. It's all the same thing. You're opening that door of communication. A Ouija board is just one of the many tools that we use. And as I started realizing that, my fear kind of went away, and I started researching Ouija boards and diving into the history of it, and found out that the rules online of how to use a Ouija board are just wrong, and most of them come from horror movies, especially the movie from the '80s, Witchboard, which is a great
Yep.
horror movie, but terrible advice with Ouija boards. And if you go back to like a lot of the original directions for the Ouija board and some of the stuff that people like William Fold wrote about how to do a good Ouija board session, it completely contradicts what the internet tells you to do. And so I started following that older stuff, and all of a sudden I started getting really good results with the Ouija board. I started collecting it partially because of the history and the artwork. And then it just became an obsession. I'm currently at around 125 Ouija boards. And so what we do at the museum is, aside from go through the history and then showcase the different boards and the artwork and how they changed over time, but we have a whole section on myth and superstition where we go through Zozo and the Satanic Panic and all the different rules that are online and why each one does not actually make any sense if you actually sit down and think about it. And then we give our recommendations as to what the right way to do it is that'll keep you safe, that'll give you a good result, and kind of eliminate the fear a little bit. So we do that with the museum. We also do smaller lectures, and we've successfully gotten people less afraid of them. My crowning achievement is one of our first events. We actually had a woman who walked up, looked at our museum, and straight up told me, she goes, "I don't even want to walk through this." She goes, I'm absolutely terrified of these things. They scare me. I don't want to be anywhere near one. And I said, "Well, would you be willing to walk through it with me? We'll talk about the history, because there's a very rich history of it. So we'll
Mhm.
talk about the history, and then when we get to the myth and superstition, you and I can just have a conversation. If at any point you feel uncomfortable, you're welcome to leave. I just want to have a conversation with you about it." So we walked through, we went through all the history. We talked for a good half hour after we got through the history, and then she bought a Ouija board from me.
Oh, wow.
So she did a complete 180, and that just made me feel so good. I'm like, okay, I got this. Where I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not against them. It's just how you use them. Like you said, it's like using a spirit box, a pendulum. I mean, it's all spirit communication, and it's all how you and your intentions are on them. You set
Absolutely.
you set good intentions, you're gonna get something good out of it. You set your bad, you're gonna get something bad out of it. I mean,
Yeah.
they used to sell them as toys back in the day too, and right in stores you could buy them.
So interesting thing with the history. Um, a lot of people, especially skeptics, will tell you, "Oh, well, they're just a toy because they've always been made by toy manufacturers. They're just a goof." And that's not true at all. They were originally made by toy manufacturers because they were being made by people at home as part of the spiritualism movement in the 1880s. 1886 is actually the oldest, the farthest back that we could actually track Ouija boards to. Um, and then it was Charles Kennard who saw it in a newspaper and thought, "Hey, I'm already building board games. I have all the equipment for it. I could make that and sell that." So it was made by a board game company, not because it was a game, but because they already had the tools to do it.
There's another one of your believers, he, said I was very against Ouija boards until he met you.
Oh yeah, Sean and I have talked extensively on Ouija boards.
And, I mean, I see a lot of investigators using them now as tools in their kits and stuff like
Hmm.
that.
Well,
Now
one of the things that we always tell people is, like, if you decide that it's not a tool you want to use or you don't get good results from it, that's fine. Like
right,
SLS and EMF, they're tools that I don't like using. I don't use them. There's nothing against using them. I just don't like them. So if you don't like using a Ouija board, that's fine. My
right,
goal is to eliminate the fear of Ouija boards. If you still don't like them, fine, don't use them. But I just want, my whole thing is I just want to get rid of the fear because there's just so much bad information out there. I just want to nip it in the bud and as best as I can and get past it.
right, and that's even like my cousin John Zaffa says. He says, "I've been around them, I've seen people use them, and nothing bad's happened to them." So
Yeah.
he's kinda got that too, and I know my cousins Ed and Lorraine, they were dead set against Ouija boards. They did not like Ouija boards, and to them, they were occult practices, but, like, my cousin John's total different person when it comes to that.
Yeah, I've actually met John Zaffis. He's gone through my museum and seen it, and then he bought a Ouija board out from other. All right, fun story. Uh, Back in February, I met John Zaffis, and we got to do a ghost hunt together, and we hit it off. We had a great time. The next day, we were at an event. I had my Ouija board museum there. He got to go through it. He loved the museum, and then me and him were walking through the rest of the vendors, and somebody had a 1940s Swami board,
Oh
which
wow.
I have a reproduction of one. I don't have an original 1940s. Unfortunately, he saw it and mentioned it before I did. And then he bought it. I'm like, oh, I was going to buy that. That was a good price too. But it's okay because I just bought one today. so I have it now.
That's John for you. You gotta
Yeah.
watch out for him.
Oh, I love John though. We got along well.
Oh
He
yeah.
was fun to investigate with.
Oh, I love his sense of humor.
Oh yes.
He's always fun to be around. Not afraid to joke around and cut it up with you either.
Nope. No. We had fun.
Yeah, we have a good story with John. When we first met him in person, was out here at Metacon in Missouri, and we walked up to him. I brought him a haunted mask for his museum, and we
Nice.
got talking about who we're related to, and we're getting ready to take a picture with him. He turns to me and he goes, "Fucking Vincent Price?" Just out of the blue, and I was like, "Yeah, we're related to Vincent Price."
Wow.
And he says, "My sister was near Vincent Price at an airport. She got to meet him."
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, I love Vincent Price. I think I've seen just about all of his movies.
Oh yeah, I love his old movies, House on Haunted Hill, and
Mhm. What One of my prized possessions, Tanya got it for me for Christmas last year, was it's an old record from the late 70s of John Zaffis reading, not John Zaffis, Vincent Price reading a book about witches.
oh okay,
So like all those stories in his voice on the record, and it's got that just the right amount of like scratchiness and clickiness to it. Oh, I love it.
yeah,
Out.
especially he's got that creepy voice for that
Mm-hmm.
horror genre,
Yep.
so it makes him the legend in the horror industry.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that was funny with John. He just turned out of the blue and said that to me, and we just lost it and started cracking up. I just actually talked to him. It's been about a month ago. You we got talking about something and cutting it up a little bit, joking around.
Yeah. He's a good guy. I think I'm gonna get this chance to see him in September.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see he's going to be at the main Paracon this year.
Yep. And we should be there. So.
There's going to be a lot of good people up there.
Mm-hmm.
DJ Graham from Friday the 13th, I saw was going to be there.
Oh, there's gonna be a lot of people from the horror movies up there.
I got to meet CJ last year here out in Missouri at Crypticon.
Nice.
He's a pretty, he likes to joke around too. I got a picture with him. He snatched me up with one hand. That's how big he is.
Wow.
Pulled me close and I captured in the picture. I said, Jason Voorhees has got a hold of me. And he's just holding with his arm, just one right around me. And I was like, trying to stand still and hang on. And I'm like literally just shaking like this. So that here to the picture. But yeah, he's a good dude. I just saw he went through surgery. He just had his pacemaker redone.
Oh, I didn't see that. Wow.
Yeah, that was last week, I believe. Because he posted online that Jason lives again. But
Yeah, you
so,
can't keep him down.
what got you started in the paranormal? Was it a paranormal experience you had, or?
So I've always been interested in the paranormal. I grew up with Ghostbusters, and I my formative years was early mid 90s. So you had, all like Alien Autopsy and all the UFO or the Area 51 stuff coming out and Unsolved Mysteries and uh, documentaries on the Patterson Gimlin film and all that kind of stuff. And I ate it all up. The house I grew up in is definitely a little haunted. Saw a couple things when I was real little, heard a couple things, but it wasn't until I got to college that it really got turned on to it. So Ghost Hunters started
Mhm.
airing on Sci-Fi, and being an engineering major, we had access to a lot of similar types of equipment that they were using. So me and some friends, we formed a little paranormal group. We went and investigated Gettysburg. We went to Centralia, Pennsylvania. We did some local places. And after, I don't know, 5, 6 investigations, they were like, okay, that was fun. And then they're ready to move on to the next fun thing to try out. But I was bit by the bug and spent the next way too long investigating when I can. Uh, none of my friends wanted to go out again doing it. My ex-wife she liked watching the ghost hunting shows. She hated when I would go ghost hunting. She never wanted to go ghost hunting herself. So then my brother got out of the army, and we would go down to Gettysburg at least once a year, and we'd spend the day doing history stuff for him, and then ghost hunting for me at night. And the more I did it, the more I wanted to do it. And then when I met Tanya, found out that not only is she into the paranormal, but currently lives and has always lived in a haunted house, a very haunted house. And then, like I said, we went to Gettysburg, and the rest is history. We love it.
We had a question for you. The question, brother. I see he has a Bigfoot in the background. So does he investigate Bigfoot, and does he have a story going out looking?
Yes, we absolutely cover Bigfoot. With Empty Casket, we cover UFOs, Bigfoot, um, ghosts, all kinds of cryptids and different story, like anything in that high strangeness kind of stuff. We're into it. Just recently, back in late February, early March, Tanya's ex-husband was in visiting her kids, and he calls me up one day and goes, "Hey, so I saw this weird thing running up the road." So he's describing what he saw, and as we went in and checked things out, uh, what he saw had to be at least 10 feet tall. And he said it smelled really bad. It was big, hairy, ran up the road up towards the woods. And I said, well, you're going to go look, see if there was tracks, right? Because we had a bit of a warm spell and the ground was starting to thaw. So he goes up and he sends me some pictures of tracks and says, yeah, here's what I found. I'm like, all right, I'm coming down. I want to see these myself. So I come down, we go into the woods, and he shows me what he found. And they're clearly tracks, but could really be just about anything. They're not
Right.
very well defined, but they're about 6 feet apart. So we kind of draw a line through them and like, okay, let's go see if we find another. And we found another and another, and all each 6 feet apart. And we hit a point where we couldn't go any further. Like, okay, let's try going in the other direction. Found a track, 6 feet every time. And we ended up finding like 20 tracks total. One of them was actually very clear. And I got a casting of it, and it was very clearly a foot track. It was about 16 inches long. You can see a couple of the toes. You can see the mid dorsal break, the heel. And so he was never into Bigfoot prior to this. He called me up because even though I'm into all this stuff, I'm very skeptical. So he wanted me to talk him out of it, that he didn't see what he thinks he
Right.
saw. Because I'm always trying to disprove stuff before I'll say it's anything. And um, I'm like, dude, it's a footprint. I can't say you didn't see it. I can't. I'm sorry. So I was helping. I went to help Tanya's daughter with her physics homework that night. Put on Expedition Bigfoot for him to watch. Next thing I know, he's screaming my name. So I come running into the room, and he rewinds it and plays it. And on Expedition Bigfoot, they were talking to somebody, and they pulled out a Bigfoot track, and he's like, "Dude, that's what we got." I'm like, holy shit. So he pauses it. I go grab the track and we're looking at them side by side. And sure enough, they're almost identical. I got to meet Dr. Jeff Meldrum just a couple weeks ago at a Bigfoot convention out this way, and I showed him the casting, and he immediately pointed out all the toes, the mid-dorsal break, the ball, the foot, the heel, and he goes, "This is actually a pretty good cast." And I'm like, "Okay, well, if Dr. Jeff Meldrum is saying that this is a Bigfoot footprint, then any questions I have on it, gone."
Galactic says, "Sweet, he's awesome."
He is, yeah. Yeah, he sat and talked with us for a good long time.
We're just starting to get into the Bigfoot researching. We've been more into the paranormal and ghosts, and I'm starting to expand a little bit to cryptids. And I've got a buddy out here, Carter Burchart, who's a consultant for he was a consultant on the TV show Finding Bigfoot
Okay.
when they did the Kansas and Missouri, and he's got more than 1,000 reports published for the state of Missouri for Bigfoot activity.
Wow.
And now he's starting to publish dogmen sightings.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got Momo right there in
Yep,
Missouri, the Missouri Monster,
yep. And
which
he's never experienced Momo. I've asked him about that, and he says our last sighting for Momo up where I live was 1976. A family spotted a Momo monster, but
okay.
most of it's been your traditional Sasquatches and Bigfoot. On our way to Gettysburg, we actually spotted a Bigfoot in the Allegheny Mountains.
Oh, really?
We were, you know how they go up that mountain and it's all them sharp turns.
Yeah.
We were going up through there, and I was watching the road. This was probably about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I go past. My dad goes, "You ain't gonna believe what I just saw." I was like, "What?" He said, "I saw Bigfoot. It was crouched down raiding somebody's trash can, and
Wow.
my headlights hit it, and I have those LED headlights in my car, and it stood up, looked right at him, and curled its lip at him."
Wow.
And he told me after we got past it, and I wanted to go back, and I know if we woulda went back, he would probably threw that trash can right at my car or did something.
I 100% would have turned around and went back. And if he threw that trash can at my truck, you know what? I'll take the damage. It's fine.
Galactic. Momo is another form of our Missouri Bigfoot. They're a little bit smaller than your traditional Bigfoot.
A
They've
little
got
more aggressive, if I remember correctly.
they're a little bit more aggressive. They've only got 3 fingers on each hand and 3 toes on each foot, and they're even more hairier, and they got glowing red eyes.
Yeah, one of the interesting things when you dig into the Bigfoot reports is as you get further south and east, they seem to get smaller but more aggressive. Whereas
Yep.
if you go towards like the Pacific Northwest and Alaska and that, they're bigger but more docile.
I think too because they have to survive the hard winters in those areas as well.
Yeah.
So they're kinda like a deer. They get bigger in that area
Hmm.
with more fat.
Yep.
My dad said this one in the Allegheny, he said his arms were out to here, and he saw the chest and torso and everything. He said it was huge.
Yeah, we went to a Bigfoot museum in West Virginia earlier this year, and they had a lot of castings, and a couple of the castings looked very similar to the one I had. So that was pretty cool.
Galactic said that's a badge of honor car if Bigfoot crashes it.
Hmm. Absolutely.
But yeah, and I got looking up at first I was kinda skeptical, and then I got looking up reports for sightings in that area, and, Shawnee National Park's right there, and they have a lot of reported Bigfoot sightings in that area.
Yep.
Carol says, "My daughter and I were in Washington State on Mount Rainier, and we had an encounter with what I believe was a Bigfoot because of the smell and the hair on my arm stood up." Paranormal Nut podcast says smell equals good for heat.
Yeah, that's generally how it goes.
But yeah, it was interesting, and we looked again when we headed back to Missouri, but we never did see the trash or anything all over. And the house sits way back up in the mountain part up there.
Hmm.
And right after he told me, and then I seen the entrance to the national park, I said that explains it. We're by a national park. They seem to hang by those national parks.
They do. Yeah. Yeah. Tanya, like, so we're going to get married next year. She wants me to take her to a national park for um, our honeymoon, which I'm all for, but she's going to be on a leash because she's way too into the 411 stuff. She wants to know what's going on. She wants to disappear. I'm like, no, you're going on a leash. We're not having that.
Right?
And
Especially if you
for the,
take it to the Smoky Mountains or the Appalachian Mountains.
yeah. Well, so, okay. So for Paranormal Nut, you're thinking of Mount Shasta, now, not Mount Rainier. Mount Shasta's in Northern California. That's another place that we might go for a honeymoon is Mount Shasta.
Oh, there you go. We're gonna do a trip out to Tennessee. We want to go look for the feral people of the Smoky Mountains.
Okay. Yeah,
And
that's on our list. You know, we want to get down to the Smoky Mountains. That's not terribly far for us. That's like a 12-hour drive.
yeah, it's about 12 hour drive for us as well. Galactic says I'm headed to Mount Adams, Washington State for a 5-day scientific investigation on the underground systems in the mountain range.
Watch out for weird stuff. It seems like anytime you're underground, that's where the weird things are. So I live in near like the Scranton Wilkes-Barre area of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So yeah, so The Office took place in my hometown. And but so this is coal country. This is where 90% of the anthracite coal in the world comes from. So we have mines everywhere. And what we found with doing a lot of paranormal investigations around here is that ghosts are using the mines to move from one location to another. Like, and they'll straight up tell you, yeah, no, I'm actually usually in this place, but I came here through the mines. Or sometimes
Mhm.
they call themselves travelers, but they always travel through the mines.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, especially a lot of your coal miners that died down in those mines too. Still,
Yeah, there's quite a few mining accidents that happened around here. And
my,
oh, look at that! Galactic family is in Berwick. Hey, I'm in Tunkhannock, so not too far away from you.
I know where both you guys are. I'm originally from New York State.
Oh yeah,
I lived in the southern part of New York, so my town was. You ever heard of a little town called Callicoon, New York?
yeah,
That's where I used to live. That's where I.
okay, yeah. I work in Endicott.
Okay. Yep. Yep. That's where I grew up as a kid, and we used to run those woods all the time, and that's where my journey started. Was in Callicoon, New York, where my paranormal journey started at 6 years old there when I had my first experience, and so we lived right up in the backwoods up there.
Okay, yeah, backwoods is always the place to be.
And I mean, we never experienced any Bigfoots or anything like that. I mean, I've hunted since I was a kid with my dad, and we'd be in the woods all hours after dark, early in the morning, and we never experienced anything. But I think it was due to people developing. Once the New York City people started migrating in,
Mm-hmm. Oh,
started
don't get me started on that.
tearing out the woods and all that. So
You know, it's what's funny is I also spent my whole life hunting and hiking, camping, all that stuff. And to this day, there is nothing that terrifies me more than being in the woods in the middle of the night. I do it often, but it terrifies me.
yeah, because I mean, it does get at you psychologically because you're walking through and you can't see what's in front of you, and then all of a sudden
No, but
you
anything else that's out, they can.
you hit that light and you're standing there and you're maybe 10 yards away from glowing eyes looking at you. You
Yeah.
don't know if it's a mountain lion, it's a coyote, it's a wolf.
Yeah, I think wolves are probably one of the few things that we don't have around here. We have a lot of coyotes. We have, even though the game commission tells us that we don't have mountain lions, we 100% do.
Yeah, they say that for Missouri here too, and we do have.
Hmm.
And we have coyotes out here. We have wild hogs also.
Yeah, they're becoming a big problem. We don't have them too much here in PA yet, but they seem to be heading in this direction.
Oh yeah, New York State. Before I moved, we started getting them there
Hmm.
where I lived. There was a truck that actually trapped them, and they had a truckload that they were getting rid of. They were taking them to go butcher them, and the truck broke down, and it was right on the road I lived on, and somehow them hogs managed to escape, and they just scattered everywhere. They couldn't catch them, and my cousins ended up shooting quite a few of them during deer season.
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually just watching a thing on that, and they can go from domesticated pigs to feral hogs in as little
Mhm.
as 3 months.
Yep, and they are very aggressive, especially the ones we got out here in Missouri. I mean, them things are big,
Yeah.
and our conservation had shoot on sight on them.
Hmm.
Now they put a rule on them. If you see them, you have to report them. You can't shoot them now.
Yeah, in Pennsylvania, last I checked, we have very few, and most of what we have is in the southwestern area. But it's a if as long as you have a valid hunting license, it's shoot on site.
Mhm. And they're starting to die out here, I think, due to the fact too, plus with Momo and stuff around here and Bigfoot, I'm sure they're feeding on them too,
Oh
don't
yeah, yeah,
but I know Carter told me a story about a Bigfoot he witnessed on a thermal camera. It was walking upright like a normal human being, and all of a sudden he seen it shrink down, and then it went to an orb and just disappeared.
so I for as long as I have believed in Bigfoot, and I didn't always believe in Bigfoot, but for as long as I believed in Bigfoot, I've always been in the camp of Bigfoot as a flesh and blood creature. I've had two experiences in the last 2 years, well, year and a half, that complete has shaken that, and I really don't know what I believe right now. Um, so every year, Get Haunted does the trifecta, which
Mhm,
is ghosts, Bigfoot, and aliens all in one event. The first year we did that, which was last year, we did it at the Shanley Hotel. We had Ronnie LeBlanc from Expedition Bigfoot there. So and we did it with the Pine Bush UFO Museum. So we did a CE5 event, ghost hunting at the Shanley Hotel, and then a Bigfoot hike with Ronnie. Um, I saw something in a field, and that it was weird. So we took a walk through the woods, and there was this one field that I just very much was drawn to. It wasn't where we were headed, but I really wanted to go there. But
mhm,
I kind of ignored it. I just made a comment that I wanted to go there. We went up. We ended up doing some wood knocks, EVP sessions while doing the wood knocks, and we actually got responses. Um, we got knocking, and then we got EVPs of "Get out! You don't belong here. Go away." So we start walking back, coming back up to this field again, and as I'm kind of looking into the field, because I'm still drawn to this field. I want to go into this field. I saw what Ronnie called a glimmer, and the only way I could describe it is it looked like the Predator
mhm.
when he's cloaked, where you could kind of see just like the outline. And I saw that, and I stopped. And I'm like, okay, that's not what I saw. There's grasses, there's branches. They were, interfering with each other, and it was a trick of the light. So I just started walking back and forth in that same 5 foot spot over and over and over again, trying to get that to happen again, and nothing. And I turn and look, and everyone's just watching me. Like, what the hell is he doing? And then there's one other person who's just standing there, wide eyed, like they saw something. And I looked at him like, Predator, and she's like, yeah. And like, what the hell's and Ronnie's like, what the hell's going on? So I told him what I saw, and he goes, oh, dude, you saw a glimmer. That's awesome. I'm like, okay, hold up. First off, I definitely saw something. I'm not ready to say that was Bigfoot. Saw something. I don't know what. Fast forward to this year's trifecta, we did it down at Fort Duffield in Kentucky.
Okay, Ernie's place.
Yep. And I almost walked into one of those bastards. So I actually we had a psychic medium there. I had a reading with him. As soon as my reading was over, Kaylee from Get Haunted comes over to me and says, Dude, you gotta see this picture. So she's going through, she's showing me these pictures. She took one of these pictures is a picture of an alien. I swear to
Mhm.
God, it's a gray standing in the woods. Weirdest, it's wild. But then she showed one that was like, shit, that's a Bigfoot. Like that's very clear. That's a Bigfoot. Show me where you took that picture. So we go to the back half of Fort Duffield. She shows me where she saw some tracks and actually helped her find a couple more tracks around there. And she points up this little like 5-6 foot hill, and it was standing right there. Well, I'm going back there because I want to see it. So I walk over. I start walking up this hill. I'm watching straight ahead of me the whole time, like because if I'm going to see something, I want to see it. I'm paying attention, and there's nothing there. And until there was something there, I never saw it. I saw a very clear outline of what is clearly a Bigfoot. Nothing in the middle, just a very clear outline. And I stopped. I jumped back like 4 or 5 feet and immediately started apologizing. I'm like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't see you there. I didn't mean to walk into you. I'm sorry." And like, I swear my heart stopped there for a second. Like, I've it was I don't every time I tell this story, I always end up with a loss of words because to try to describe what I saw, because it's
Right.
just something that I can't fully grasp mentally. And I go back and I tell Greg Yost, who was there, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you saw it when Bigfoots. They were cloaking." I'm like, "But I don't believe they can do that." He goes, "But you saw it." I'm like, "I know, but I don't believe this. Like my whole world is shooken right now." Then we saw the lights, the eye shine in the woods, and Tanya starts doing an Estes method next to the woods, and she starts. Greg Yost comes up because he's like, "Oh yeah, my friend Big Red's back there," and then she starts answering his questions as he's trying to talk to Big Red, and we're like, so she's channeling Bigfoot to talk to Greg. They're just talking back and forth, and
Mhm.
I don't. This goes against what I believe. Everything's shaking right now, and I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah, I mean, people swear they are part of the paranormal field. Bigfoot is.
Yeah. But one of the interesting things is if you take your typical Bigfoot report where things are being thrown, there's footsteps,
Mhm.
there's sounds, just take that report and take it out of the woods and you put it in a house and you just describe the poltergeist.
Yep.
So
Like,
it, is Bigfoot a poltergeist of the woods? Is Bigfoot an actual flesh and blood creature? But we also can interact with a Bigfoot ghost. Maybe Bigfoot is interdimensional or a more spiritual creature. I don't know. But at this point, I have to be open to anything because I've seen some stuff I can't explain.
right. Uh, Kim Libby says, "My boys live by the Missouri River by Dover, where the policeman saw Bigfoot on the road." Yeah, I've read reports about that down by the Missouri River. That river is about as big as the Mississippi River wide. So, and there's a lot of food habitat down by the Missouri River because that stretches all the way down into the Ozarks of Missouri. And that's where a lot of reports come out of Missouri is down the Mark Twain National Forest. And Carter was telling me he does a lot of Bigfoot expeditions down there. And there's a cemetery that sits out in the middle of that forest. Well, there was a cross that has to weigh a good 1,000 pounds. It was laying on the ground. The one weekend that he was there, he went back the next weekend and it was back upright into the ground. You can't get a crane down in there or anything to lift it
Wow.
up. So he says it's got to be a Bigfoot that picked that up. And he was telling me how intelligent they are when he was down there with a group of people and he had left a game camera in that area.
Mhm.
Bigfoot came and laid rocks on a log counting how many were in his party.
Wow.
and he's got a picture of a hand, a Bigfoot hand on a game camera.
So there's an interesting thing with game cameras. There's this phenomenon with bear where most of the time, if you get a picture of a bear on a game camera, it's just the paw of the bear.
Mhm.
And, so there's actually a group of scientists who are trying to figure out why. And what they found is that plastics smell like ants.
Yep.
And so, bear, especially black bear, they will go, and if they find ants on a tree, they start tearing open bark, find the ants and eat the ants. So they're coming up, and usually when they do that, they come up from behind the tree. So wherever they smell it strongest, they'll come up from behind because they want to get their claws around
Yeah.
and rip the bark off. So if they're smelling the game cameras, like the plastic of the cameras, as ants, so they're coming up behind it and they're ripping the cameras off. So that's why you only get the pictures of the claws. So it makes me wonder if the bear can smell that, can Bigfoot? And then do they then avoid it because and that's why we don't have many pictures of them on game cameras?
Right. And plus, I'm sure they probably smell human scent just like a deer would or anything because they're used to that natural scent in the woods.
Mhm.
You figure they'd know when a human being's in the woods walking around. That's particularly probably why they knock trees over or throw things to get you out of there because
Yeah.
you're in their habitat.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Kim Libby asked, "Do you think Bigfoot is an alien or spiritual being?"
I'm open to the opportunity that it's a spiritual being. I don't think it's an alien, because we've done some, so the spirit box was originally designed for talking to aliens. So we have used the spirit box and Estes method to try to talk to aliens before. And in one of those sessions, I asked if they, what is their relationship with Bigfoot? And the response was, we study him too. So I don't think it's alien. I think it's something earthly, and they're
Mm,
just studying him as much as they're studying us. But that's just my theory based on what I know. So I could be wrong.
right. Carol asked, "Bill, have you ever tried gifting when looking for Bigfoot?"
I have. Yeah. So there's a mountain just south of me that we go up hiking a lot. And there's a part of it where there's going up the mountain, there's just trees that are bent over. And you can go from one to the next as you hike up the mountain. And in one area, that one of them, there's a tree bent one way and a tree bent the other way. And it's very, I have a field guide of Bigfoot structures, and this is a very common one. Um, so I've tried gifting at that particular location, and uh, I've put pieces of apple around at different points. And just about anywhere I put the apple, it's gone. But if we hike up the mountain, stop, put apples, hike all the way up, and as we're coming back down, it's usually all gone, except for one stump. The stump that's in the middle of these two that are arced in different directions. If I put an apple there, it rots away. No animal touches it,
Mm.
which is really odd to me because there's squirrels everywhere. I mean, squirrels never
Oh, yeah,
turn
they
down
love
food.
apples.
Yeah. So I'll leave an apple there. I'll come back up a week later and it's still sitting there. And it's weird. It's only if on that stump that nothing touches. I don't know why. It's kind of weird, but yeah, I meant to do it this summer, and then, life gets busy, but I really want to try to make it a point to get up at least to a particular point on that mountain at least once a week and consistently gift and to see if I get anything back. So that's something I got to work on making more time for.
I do actually still have that picture from when I had Carter on the show. This was his game camera picture that he captured.
Holy crap. Wow. Yeah, that's definitely not any, you know, accepted animal other than an ape.
Yep, and that was what he captured on the game camera. I think I still have some more of his. he was telling me one of his families that talks to, the Bigfoot would actually come and raid the greenhouse, and they would indulge themselves and fall asleep in there, and then they would put their face up against the plastic to see if somebody was coming.
Wow.
And these are all down South Missouri, and and then, like I told you, the one with the rocks, I don't know if I still have that one or not, but Carter's got like 3 books published all on Bigfoot and stuff. See if I still have it.
Yeah, outside of the track, I don't have any pictures or anything yet.
I think
Hopefully that changes.
yeah, right here, as you see, the rocks are counted
That's pretty
out
cool.
for everybody in his party.
Wow.
And Carter also does UFO researching too.
Hmm.
He just actually wrote another book called He was abducted by aliens when he was a kid, so he just wrote a whole book on that.
Yeah, I've had a few things happen, um, alien related that I don't have a full story for. I just have something weird happened. Like so this was December of, was it last year? No, it had to be the year before. Um I woke up in the middle of the night and I pulled out my phone and I recorded a voice message on there detailing what I just seen, and then I went back to bed. And then I forgot about it. Completely forgot about it until like almost a year later when I just stumbled across it when I was looking for something else. And I listened to it and my hair was standing up. I'm like, "Oh, what the hell? This is creepy." And what I'm describing is I got jostled awake and I opened my eyes and I saw Tanya gliding back into bed. Like she was laying down as if she was in bed, but
Mm.
she wasn't in bed. She was off the bed and just kind of slid back onto the bed.
Oh,
Um, but the covers were put back on us incorrectly. So at the time, we had her legs were bothering her, so we had a weighted blanket on her. I don't particularly like the weighted blanket, so it was on her but under me. Um, and then my dog was sleeping next to me. That's how we went to bed. When I had woken up, my legs were wrapped in the weighted blanket, and except for one half of it, which was underneath my dog. And the way it was done, there's no way it could have just from tossing and turning
right.
have changed from the way we went to bed to that way. It had to have been like taken off and put back on differently. And there's a few other like little things that I don't remember off the top of my head that were in that recording. And I guess like it freaked me out. I got out of bed, turned all the lights on in the house, stood in the kitchen, recorded this, and I was very thorough. Like I gave the date, the time, what I had experienced, even including the fact that I had gotten up, turned all the lights on in the house, and just stood in the kitchen for a half hour as I recorded this, calmed down, and then went back to bed. And then completely forgot about it for almost a year.
Oh, wow. Galactic S, have you ever found any sigils around any Bigfoot area?
No, I have not. Not yet, anyway.
And then Kim Libby asks, what would you do if you came face to face with Bigfoot?
I've gotten that question a few times, and it's the same question, same answer as if I came face to face with an alien. There's what I want to do and what I'd actually do.
Right.
What I would want to do is if Bigfoot was there, I'm getting as close to him as I can. I'm taking photos. I'm collecting as much evidence and making sure that it's real. Same
Yep.
with aliens. What I'm actually going to do, who knows? Because I've been in situations where I've seen something that's extraordinary, even like mundane thing, but it was still like kind of really cool. And reaching for my phone to take a picture was the last thing on my mind. Or, so you never really know what you're going to do. So,
Right.
and I'm aware of that. So I don't know what I would do. I know what I would want to do.
Me too. I mean, it'd be interesting coming face to face, but I'm the same way. I don't know what I would do because you'd be so in shock that they are real and we're actually seeing it with our own eyes face to face.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kim says she'd run.
That I think running from a Bigfoot is the one thing I can say I would not do. Because, well, for one thing, my curiosity is way stronger than my instinct to run. We have a lot of bear around here, and it's very well ingrained in me that if you come across a predator, you do not run.
No, you don't.
And then the other thing is, I have run towards shadow people during an investigation. So I think I would, I think I would run towards a big. We were at Hillview Manor in Western PA, and Tanya and I were in a hallway, and I look up down the end of the hallway where there's an intersection, and I saw a shadow figure walk past. I got up and I ran down the hallway towards it. Coming to the intersection, make the turn. Turns out it wasn't a shadow figure. It was my friend Kyle, who's just very tall. He was all in black, and from where I was with this low amount of light, it just looked like a shadow figure. I scared the hell out of him, and he's like, "What the hell are you doing? What are you running for?" I'm like, "I thought you were a shadow figure, and you ran towards me. What's wrong with you?" Like, I wanted to see it again.
She says, "Well, I sure wouldn't stand there and say, 'How you doing, big boy?'"
Now I kind of want to add that. I want to add that to what I want to do. How you doing, big boy?
Right? I mean, yeah, I mean, us investigators, we're running towards it. We're not gonna run from it.
No, aliens. I might run from. That's a long standing fear with me, is being abducted by aliens.
I've seen some things in the sky that I couldn't explain, but I've never really encountered UFOs. I know one night here, my dad woke up and there was like this big white light that was lighting up my whole house.
Oh,
And it never woke me up, but it did him. He's the only one that saw it, and it woke him up, but not me. But there was a few times I saw in my backyard something hovering in the sky that was going kind of side to side, and it would blink red and green lights, and it would just sit there and hover and just keep going side to side. Then it'd move at a zigzag angle and then come back side to side again.
hmm.
And thought it was a drone, but it was an awful big drone if it was.
Yeah. I there's been a few things I've seen in the sky that I can't explain. We saw like a green fireball go flying through the sky in a weird direction. Um, and then I saw one thing that I saw. It was a bright light, and I saw it coming kind of through the trees as I'm driving, and it comes over the trees, and it was actually two lights, and they were blinking, but they weren't blinking in sync with each other, but they were moving in sync. And I work on airplanes for a living, and I'm like, that's not the way their lights work. And it was moving side to side, so I should have seen one of the navigation lights, either red or green, depending on what direction it's going. And that wasn't there at all. And I just watched it as it went over the mountain until I couldn't see it anymore. And so I reported that one to MUFON, because like I don't have an explanation for that. That's not a conventional aircraft as far as I know,
Right.
but I can't say for sure it was a UAP.
there's a big place in Sullivan County, New York, where I live. They would go sit up on top of a hill and they would watch them over the horizon. The UFO play. Our old furnace guy, Smitty, he's passed on now. He would go with his kids and go up there and watch them.
Oh wow.
He would tell me about it when I was a kid, and he says, "Yeah, you'd see probably about 10 or 20 of them a night,
Hmm.
pressed into the horizon." And out here, we have the Joplin spook light
Yeah.
that people can't explain what it is. Military can't, NASA can't.
Yeah, and then you have the videos like the Tic Tac and the Go Fast and the gimbal videos and all that.
Kim says, "I don't think aliens are good. I've had many dreams of them, and I was fighting them with a sword."
Yeah, so from what I understand, there are definitely some that are not good for sure. There are some that might be good, but most based off of the stories I've read, most of them are neither good nor bad. We can sometimes view them as bad, but it's it's more like they look down on us because they're just so much more advanced than us. It's like us looking at an ant, where we just don't think of them as much more than you know cannon fodder. And
Right.
it's not necessarily that we're evil towards the ants. It's just more neutral. We don't really give them enough credit, and that's kind of how they view us. So
Right.
from our perspective, it might be bad or evil, but like that's not necessarily their intention.
I know I have a buddy, I don't know if you've ever met Rupert Guy.
No.
He used to be part of CE5, and he goes out and he does meditation communication with them, and he'll do expeditions with, and he'll bring paranormal teams out with their equipment to verify what he's communicating with, and
Hmm.
he's he goes travels all over the place. He's been out to Skinwalker Ranch. He was up on that mountain behind Skinwalker Ranch,
Okay.
out there communicating. And I was asking him, I said, "What do they sound like when they communicate with you?" And he said, "They don't sound like we do talking because they don't have vocal cords." He
Yeah,
said,
it's all like telepathic and
"Yep." And so that's even like Bigfoot, where Carter calls that samurai chatter
yeah.
when they talk, because they sound like two samurais just screaming back
Hmm.
and forth at each other. And he swears he communicates with a lot of them, and some of the teams that he's brought out there, I've talked with them, and because we were at several Paracons together, and they've confirmed it on their equipment going nuts when he starts communicating with them. I know Andrea Perrin from The Conjuring.
Yeah. Yeah, she's big into the UFO stuff too.
Yeah, she was at Metacon out here with John Zaffis, and she went out one night, put a cigarette in her mouth, and she started singing Frank Sinatra "My Way." Put her arms up like this, looked up at the sky, and the whole sky just started lighting up around her.
Wow.
It was the coolest thing you ever wanted to see, and her and John are real good friends, and John likes to give her static. John told her one of these days, somebody's gonna beam your ass up. And Farrell just said last night and just now I saw three strange things in the north sky.
Ooh,
And she's in Connecticut.
okay. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of um activity on the East Coast with UFOs. Especially, now that we kind of know that they're doing stuff out in the water because they
Mhm.
can come up onto the East Coast real easy and then back out into open ocean.
That's why I wonder how they function, like with the Bermuda Triangle, how many aircrafts and boats and all kinds of stuff go missing in Bermuda Triangle.
So here's an interesting thing about the Bermuda Triangle. If you take the area of the Bermuda Triangle, use that same amount of area anywhere in the world, and you have within margin of error the same number of airplane and ship disappearances. What makes the Bermuda Triangle interesting is not the number of disappearances, it's the oddity of the
Mhm.
disappearances. Because you have the same number elsewhere in the world, but they're easy to explain.
Yep.
For whatever reason, the Bermuda Triangle doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I take that back. She's in New Jersey. I thought she was
Oh, both two places that I hate driving in Connecticut and New Jersey.
right. Me too.
Although I will say this, I will take Connecticut and New Jersey over Ohio any day.
Oh
I
yeah,
drove, I drove through Ohio several times this year, and I'm like, no, I don't want to do that again. I got to do it two more times this year.
I agree. I drove through it twice too, going to Gettysburg and back. And I hate driving through there.
Yeah, yeah.
Sent you that sigil picture to your Facebook Messenger. Oh, he sent me a sigil. Let me see
Oh,
if
I
I
love Ricketts Glen State Park. I haven't been there in a year or two. That's a beautiful park to hike in, though.
let me see. I'll download it and pull it up here.
Yeah, I actually designed and made a Bigfoot Ouija board, and I've sold a couple of them, but one of them I kept for myself. And as I'm meeting like, the people who are on the Bigfoot shows and whatnot, I'm having them sign it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nice. Need to get Bobo to sign it.
I know I haven't met Bobo or Cliff yet.
There's that sigil he's talking about.
I've seen that before. Where have I seen that before? I know that sigil. I'm trying to remember what that means. No, I'm blanking on it. I've seen that before, and at one point I knew what it meant, but I'm blanking on the meaning of it. Um, it is a witchcraft symbol, though. So Ricketts Glen, there's quite a few local uh, Wiccan groups and witchcraft groups and pagan groups that will do stuff in some of the state parks around here, including Ricketts Glen, and so that's probably from one of them, I would imagine.
Okay. Yeah, I know a lot of state parks, they practice a lot of that stuff. Even out here in Missouri as well, they get up in there and
Yep.
because a lot of it's a lot of wooded area, so it's a lot of it's private, so they can get back in there and do whatever they want and not be bothered.
Yep. Yeah, I do the same. I myself am pagan, and so I'll do a lot of stuff in the woods. So my question would be, and I know you don't have the answer, but if you found that next to the tree structure, perhaps that's an area of spiritual power, and both the pagans or witches were drawn to that location, as well as the Bigfoot was drawn to that location because of just the power of that spot.
Yep, all that energy that they developed in that area that
Yep.
still lingers, and they're probably drawn Bigfoots are probably just drawn in by energy as well if they're part of the spiritual realm.
Yeah.
The amount of energy is gonna fuel them and bring
E
them in.
even if they're not, I mean, if you look at places where, pagans or Native Americans consider, like, powerful locations, you always find a lot of wildlife there.
Yep,
Wildlife's always drawn to those locations, whether they're spiritual or not.
yep, exactly. And I mean, even Bigfoot goes back to even the Native American times. They report
Oh, yeah.
seeing them,
Yeah.
like Tennessee, the Native Americans spotted the Tennessee, wild man
Mhm.
out there.
Yeah.
Even the Catskill Mountains, they're Bigfoot. Native Americans, spotted them, and then there was the Catskill Witch that the Great Spirit turned her to stone, and she's the mountain ranges and part of the Catskill Mountains, and my dad actually used to work in that town building houses in there.
Oh.
I've seen the lake where the witch's eyes are supposed to be, the 2 stones out there are her eyes.
Mm.
I saw that as a kid.
Yeah, the Native Americans have a lot of stories with Bigfoot. Some of them positive, where they kind of work together. Some of them neutral, where they just kind of avoided each other, and some of them downright hostile.
Mhm. Especially, I think, too, with Native Americans, they're hunting the Bigfoot food too, so
Yep,
they're fighting for
or
survival.
vice versa.
Yep. So, and I mean, you see these reports on TV that there was that one that the hunter shot a Bigfoot,
Hmm.
and there was blood and everything, and he buried the body, went back to get somebody, come back, and the body's gone, but there was still blood there on the ground.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are human beings are not the only animal on the planet that buries their dead. You know,
Yep,
there are other animals that do that, and it's very possible that Bigfoot's one of them.
yep. I mean, turkeys do.
Yep, elephants do.
If you wound one, they'll fly down into a hole and they'll bury themselves in a hole, and that's where they'll pass on.
Yeah. Elephants will, if one of their pack dies, they'll break down trees and whatnot and cover the body. They even did that with there was a helicopter crash in Africa in the late '90s, early 2000s, and it took almost a decade for them to find the helicopter because the elephants came in, thought it was a dead thing, and tore down a bunch of trees and buried it.
Yep. I mean, even your predators, they bury their kill sites and stuff.
Yep, as long as they're not disturbed during it.
Yep. Wolves will do I've seen wolves do it, I've seen mountain lions will do it.
Hmm. Coyotes sometimes do, sometimes don't. They're a little bit of a wild card.
Yep. Yeah, you don't see very many coyotes burying stuff. You'll see where they've got a hold of an animal and then
Yeah, for
run
sure.
off with it,
Yep.
which you can always tell when a coyote takes something down compared to, like, a fox. If a fox takes down, like, a bird or something, everything's in a circle. Coyotes, it's just scattered because it's a pack of them tearing at something,
Hmm.
and, but yeah, I mean, Bigfoot, it's an interesting creature to study, and like I said,
For
we're
sure.
just starting to get into studying it. I mean, I've done everything with ghosts and your darker stuff. Now, time to dive into that too a little bit.
Yeah, I'm even though I do more with ghost investigations between Get Haunted and Empty Casket and um, just for fun, we do more ghost related stuff. My interest would I would say is more alien and Bigfoot related than ghosts.
See, we do a lot of residential cases. That's what we do a lot of.
Oh yeah, we've done a couple residential cases, and at this point, we decided we're not doing that anymore. Um, we've done two cases where everything kind of went all right, where we were actually able to help people, help
Mhm.
get them some answers and whatnot. But every other case we did, we walked out of there thinking this person needs help,
Right.
you know, and we are not qualified to diagnose or get them the kind of help that they need. Like it's not spiritual help they need. It's mental
Yeah,
health.
that's a lot of that. We've dealt with quite a bit of that.
Yeah. And we're like, you know what? We just don't want to deal with that. Where our whole thing with Empty Casket at this point is, because we're both very spiritual, we're both pagan, we do psychic development classes, we dive deep into spiritualism and the hows, the whys of anything of that nature. And for us, it's more about getting answers and having experiences than anything else. So we're happy working with Get Haunted and renting out locations and doing investigations on our own. So
Yeah, I love Get Hunted. Those guys are awesome.
yeah.
I enjoy it. All their events. We always have fun, especially in Missouri State. We had a ball.
Yeah, that was my first time at MSP, and it was an interesting night for sure.
Hey, Grands are welcome in. He's a big follower of ours. He never misses an episode. He tries not to, anyways. Sasquatch Island in Canada.
Yeah, that's on my list of places that I want to visit at some point.
I hear about it with us being part of the Cold Spotters family, which is Amanda Quill's out of British Columbia, Canada. She's told me about that up there.
Yeah, who knows? In a couple of years, it might be a lot easier to get to that area of the country of
Yeah,
Canada.
hopefully. But yeah, I mean, Missouri State. When we started off there in death row, my dad seen those shadow figures going in and out of the cells.
Oh, we were seeing them all night.
I don't know if we told you when we separated and we went down the other end.
Hmm.
Ashley and I both got touched.
Oh, really?
We come walking out those outer cells, and Ashley was up first, and she felt something go like this on her head that felt like cobwebs, and then something on her arm. So she come through there, and then I was shortly behind her, and then I felt something felt like cobweb on my arm. So I started looking, trying to debunk it. And there's got to be spider webs or something going on.
Hmm.
Didn't find any, so I talked to Sheila, and Sheila says I had inmates in there and cleaned death row a couple weeks ago, so there is no cobwebs or spider webs whatsoever.
Yeah, we at one point, I don't think they were with your group. I think they were at a group after yours. But we had Chris Smith. He was filming, and at one point, uh, I heard him yell, and so me and Kaylee go running around the corner because we heard Chris yell, and he's running up to us, and he's like, "Yeah, I was looking around, and we were talking, and in one of the cells, a face came right up to the bars." I'm like, "All right, well, show me which cell this was. I want to see it for myself."
Right.
So we go down, and they all stayed on the outer side of the bars. I was on the side of the bars closest to the cells. So we get up. He says, "Yeah, it was this cell right here." I'm like, "All right, well, now we're all here. Can you show yourself again?" And all of a sudden, there's footsteps running out of the cell towards me, which I don't scare easily, but that's startled the hell out of me.
Right.
And I yelled and I jumped into the bars, and um took a second for me to catch my breath, and then I walked into the cell. I just put my hand up. I'm like, "All right, high five. You got me. You scared me. Good job. Give me a high five." But man, we were seeing shadow figures all night. I even into the free roam. I I'm not even gonna bother pulling out equipment. There's so much shadow work going on here.
Oh yeah.
I just started going to different buildings and just sitting there and watching. And you just see things walking around. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
wild.
We did that in with Rob down in the dungeon on our group, and we did the EVP session, and nobody wanted to go into the in your face cell by themselves and do a solo. So Rob asked me to do it, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it. I've been here before. I've been in that cell. I did Estes in that cell even the year before. That's the cell we did Estes with Dan Rivera in, and so I did that. And Brian's daughter filmed me doing it.
Mhm.
So we decided after that, we listened to the EVPs and we caught something. I asked about cell number 20, and then I asked about JB the Firebug, who was housed down in the dungeon for 18 years. And we got an EVP saying, "Don't let him leave."
Ooh.
We don't know if it was referring to me or it was referring to JB. And Brian kept saying that cell, every time he would sit in there and write, there would be something in his face all the time. And we were sitting there watching all the little lights. Brian and I were down that hallway. You'd see red ones, you'd see white ones, blue ones.
Mhm.
And then Rob says, "Let's go lights out, see if we can experience any shadow play." I was like,
Yeah, he loves that.
I was cool with it. I was like, yeah, hell yeah, let's do it. So we she shut her camera off, and Brian's daughter went up by her dad, and she's standing there, and all of a sudden she feels something grab her leg. she freaks. And I said to her, I said, "Stay calm. There is a shadow, and I'm right here. She's right here." And I said, "There's a shadow right in between both of us." And she's holding on to her dad, and her dad's holding her. And then shortly after, this big light appears behind Brian. And Rob thought somebody lit a phone or a flashlight. And you could see everybody in our group. That's how bright it was. And
Wow.
you could see Brian's holding his daughter, and his daughter's holding him. And it lit Rob right up too. Rob was kind of like, he turned and he was like, "What the hell?" And first time I've ever experienced that at Missouri State.
Yeah, Brian's daughter Annalise, she did pretty good,
Yeah,
especially considering she's only 17.
yeah, she did real good. And the one cool thing was she was there to film the Get Haunted event. She was not
Hmm.
there to film the paranormal, which, like I told her, I said, that's actually a good thing because you experience more when you're filming something else and not looking for the paranormal.
Yep. Yeah,
And
for sure.
Tim says, "Missouri State Penitentiary, I got sick in the gas chamber as soon as I walked in the door. My throat started burning, and I couldn't breathe. I had to walk out and sit on the bench. We left after that because it drained me."
Yeah, I didn't get to go to the gas chamber, but yeah, I heard a couple people had some interesting experiences there.
Yeah, it's interesting. The first time we went was with another team from St. Louis, and her husband, he had throat surgery done, so he couldn't talk. So him and I went in the gas chamber and shut the door, and we did a spirit box session in there. And I said, "What do you want to happen to us?" And we get a voice across the spirit box says, "Die." And it was a woman that said it, and there was
Mm.
one woman that was executed in the gas chamber.
Yeah.
It was her and her boyfriend for they kidnapped kids and killed them. And my friend Linda there, I was actually able to help her find her great uncle's cell, and she
Oh
got to
wow.
actually talk with him that night.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
He was coming through on KD's reverse sweep ink box,
Hmm.
and he was communicating with. She has a dead bell, and he was communicating through that. I still have to go through my audio. I was running a recorder too to see if he come through on that. I gave him the option to talk through that as well. She was also running a digital recorder as well, but he didn't want me in the cell. He wanted me to step out so he could just talk to his niece. So I stepped on the outside just to let them have that conversation.
Hmm.
But even in the women's section, when we were up there and we were doing the human pendulum with Joe and Dom, there was a guy that was in our group. His brother was coming through, and he was messing with the dowsing rods and the human pendulum. And then we got a woman that come through, and she didn't want Joe to talk. She was pushing him right out. She did not like Joe at all. And Joe's like, he says to me, he goes, "I've never been pushed out of a conversation with a ghost in my life." I said, "Well, you are now."
Oh, that's happened to me quite a few times.
I said, "You're forgetting they don't like us men up here in this women's part." And so I asked the question, I said, "There anybody else you don't like here?" And all of a sudden the dowsing rods pointed at me. Like, yeah, figures. And so I got pushed out of it. So all the girls were just having a conversation with this female, but I guess to her, Joe and I resembled guards.
Mm.
And from our first visit there, when we were up there with Candy Slater, we were doing a burst EVP session, and she was using necrophonic, and they were both coinciding with each other. And we were talking to a female that she was having an affair with a guard, and the guard said, "If you say anything and I lose my job, a bad accident."
Well, that's not good.
So she ended up not been able to take it, and she ended up throwing herself over the rail of the prison down to the floor.
Ooh.
And so she ended up from her injuries, and she haunts up there now. So I'm wondering if we were talking to her. We had a cat ball sitting up on the catwalk up top, and that wouldn't stop. That kept going off left and right.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend Ashley, that was in the group, she was the actual pendulum. She's never done it before. And she was kind of nervous at doing it, and I was coaching her through it. I said, just relax, clear your mind. You'll be all right. We'll catch you. And eventually she just started swaying.
Yeah. I remember the first time I saw a human pendulum, I'm watching it. I'm like, there ain't no way. There's no way that's real. There's no way.
Right.
And then it was like 1 or 2 investigations later, I got an opportunity to do it. And I said, yeah, we're going to do human pendulum. Anybody want to do it? I'm like, I'm doing it. I don't believe this is real. I got to do it. And I'm standing there and they said, show me a yes. And all of a sudden I felt pushed forward. I'm like, no shit. There's no way. Now it's become something that I do quite often because I mean it works.
Right.
We did a investigation at Mid Orange Correctional Facility with Get Haunted.
Okay.
And we had I was leading a group in the main building on the 3rd floor, and we were going to do human pendulum at one point. And we did a round. It went really well. We did another round with somebody else. It went really well. There's an older woman in the group. She had to be in her 70s at least. Like mid to late 70s, maybe even into the 80s. And she's like, I need to try this for myself. There is no way I got to try this myself. I'm like, okay, that's fine. So coach her through it, tell her what she has to do, ask for a yes, and she goes forward and her eyes just go big. And so I ask for a no, and she goes backwards. And the the string of expletives that came out of her mouth was amazing. She's like, there is no way this is really happening. This is the coolest thing ever. She was so excited. It was fantastic. I loved it. I that's one of the things I love with working with Get Haunted is a lot of the first experiences I've already had myself.
Yep.
Now I get to relive those first experiences through the eyes of other people.
Right.
You know, and it's one of the things that I love about doing it and why I keep doing it.
That's like me when I go to those events. I like to let the new people do like how they did Estes. Let the new people experience that because we do this all the time. So it's fun to let the new people get their feet wet and let them try it out
Yeah.
and experience it.
Yeah, we have a local group, Wyoming Valley Ghost Tours. They do, similar to Get Haunted. They do events around here. We love doing events with them. As we don't work with them, we just go as guests because, but we're getting into places that we grew up with, like local history that you can't
Right.
get into and investigate otherwise. And so we've gotten to know them really, really well. They've become very good friends of ours. And a lot of times if they have people who are brand new, they'll stick them in our group because they know that they don't have to worry about our group, that will kind of coach them along. And I don't mind doing it for the most part. And a lot of times it can be fun. And like my whole thing is we're getting to be in places that I've wanted to investigate since I was younger, places that you can't otherwise get access to, like the Scranton Cultural Center in Scranton, PA. When like it's not just a theater, it's the Masonic Temple.
Mm-hmm.
Huge building. They have 1, 2, 3, 4 Masonic chambers in there. At this point, 100% of the building is open up to Wyoming Valley Ghost Tours. They've earned that trust. you can't get into the Masonic lodges unless you are a Mason or with one of their investigations.
Right.
And we have had some weird stuff happen in some of those lodges.
I can imagine.
In fact, that was the first time I've ever experienced the Cody and Satori effect.
Mm-hmm.
I got to meet them there, and we went up. We were in the main lodge where they do most of their stuff, and they're in the middle of the room. We're all kind of just seated around them, and they grasp hands, and all of a sudden you just start hearing footsteps, and it's not just in one spot; it's moving all the way around them. And then they asked them something about the balcony, and you hear footsteps up in the balcony. Then you hear asked about, oh, can you go to the balcony on the other side? So we start hearing footsteps in the balcony behind us, and I'm just like, what the hell is going on? This can't be real. This can't be real.
Right.
And so we're walking, when we're done with the session, we're walking out of the lodge, and John, one of the owners of one of the ghost tours, comes over to me. He goes, "What the hell just happened?" I'm like, I don't know. I have no explanation for it, but that was the coolest thing that I've ever experienced in my life.
That's like the place I work at is haunted, and I work nights as a custodian, and this other lady works with me at night. And she's afraid of ghosts. And one night I seen a shadow figure at the end of the hallway upstairs, and I got done for the night, went down to go help her, and I went down there to tell her what I saw. That bathroom light turned on its own, and that's a flip switch. And I seen that shadow figure, and as we're standing there talking about it, a bathroom door, she had the door stopped down. This door has never done that, and all of a sudden, the door starts shutting on its own.
Ooh.
And she goes, "I had that door stopped down. That's never done that. It started when you started talking about ghosts." And I was like, "Well, what do you want me to tell you? They're here to let you know, hey, I'm here." And the old gym, she will not go in it past 9 o'clock. So I was there by myself one night. I was like, there's nothing going on in there. And I went in there when she says, "Oh, you don't go in there after 9 o'clock." First time I went in there, didn't experience nothing. Second time I went in there, I heard something knock. And I asked, I said, "If that was you that made that knock, can you do it again?" And I hear a faint little knock. And I said, "For me to believe you, if that was really you, you got to knock louder than that." And then I got what I asked for. I got a louder knock. I was like, "Okay, now I believe you." So now I've got them actually hooked on the paranormal. We'll take a break and go to the old gym during the day here and do little sessions out there, and they actually get to hear them talk. I'll get them to communicate, and now they're all hooked on it. They were doing it while I was on vacation in Gettysburg. I was like, and I said to her, I said, "Now you may not be so afraid at night now, because now you're communicating with them during the day. You know they're not here to harm you. They've been talking back to you. So now at night, you won't be so leery and scared that, oh, they're going to scare the crap out of you. Now you're going to expect them because now you know they're here."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "It'll make you feel at ease." Granzer had a question for you. Bill Bryan, since you started doing research, have you seen a rise in spirits being more aggressive, or has that behavior always been there? It just depends on what site you are at.
I have not seen a rise in um, spirits being more aggressive for the most part. There's one location where it seems to have gotten worse, but overall, I've not seen that. What I have noticed that it's not even necessarily dependent on the site; it's more dependent on the people who are there investigating. Like there are we've investigated, especially, well, Get Haunted is a great example of this because we do rotations, so you have different people come through. 45 minutes later, you have a different group of people come through.
Yep.
And we've had a group of people come through and get absolutely nothing in an area we know to be very active. and the next group comes in and it's off the charts crazy. And then the next group comes in and it's, only kind of sort of active. I think it has more to do with the people there and how well their energy resonates with the spirits that are there. If the spirits don't like you, either they're going to be aggressive or quiet. If the
Right.
spirits like you, they're probably going to be more talkative.
I agree with that because we've noticed that as well. Even the first time the Get Haunted with Nesper was at Missouri State, and we were down in 3D with Dom and Joe. He was telling me the first group before us, they didn't hardly get anything. Now our group come down, we were getting activity like crazy. We were even seeing the shadow peeking around the door down on the other end, and so I agree with that 100%. It's all how the energy is resonated when you
Oh,
come
yeah.
through.
There was one night, I won't say the location or who this was, but it's a location that um, we always get a lot of activity. It's a very, very active location. We go in there, we're already getting activity as we're setting up. So Tanya and I, we took, one particular room. First group comes in, and we got our normal amount of activity there. Next group comes in, they got nothing. Not a single thing happened while that group was there. Next group comes in, we get a whole lot of activity. And then we go and we do like a recap with everyone. And what we noticed was every group had activity no matter where they went, except for that, what was our second group. That group got nothing the entire night. So then we go off into free roam, and all of a sudden, everybody in that group, except for one person, is getting activity everywhere.
Right.
This one person, the entire night, didn't have a single thing happen. And I knew that person for several months leading up to this investigation, and I've knew him I was in touch with him for several months afterwards. He's not a person that I'm a big fan of, and I totally understand why the spirits did not want to deal with him. I totally get it. But yeah, anywhere he went, there's just no activity whatsoever.
Right. Uh, Kim Libby asks, have you ever been to Ray County Museum in Richmond, Missouri? It's very active. I've had several things happen to me there. I've never been there, but I've heard of it. I know they do a lot of events at a Ray County Museum.
Yeah, I've only been in Missouri the one time going to MSP.
Missouri's got a lot of rich history. I mean, we've got our history of the Civil War out here.
Mm-hmm.
We've also got the Mormon massacres out here, which we do a local Mormon massacre site called Hans Mill here in Bramer, Missouri.
Oh, I've heard of that place.
And that's a very active place. It's sometimes it's hit or miss, but if you go on like the anniversary of the massacre, which is the night before Halloween,
Oh,
you will get activity. I got my REM pod and Mel meter spiking down there. Now this is a big open field. There's no electricity nowhere, and the REM pod and Mel meter were going crazy down there. And we had a new investigator with us tagging along, and this was her very first ever investigation, and she was standing there, and I look, and here's a over 6 feet tall shadow figure standing behind her, and I did not want to tell her because I knew she'd freak if I told her. She happened to turn around and she saw it, and
oh, that's awesome.
she started screaming and crying, and
Oh yeah, some people are not ready for it. You think you're ready.
yep,
They've maybe been on a couple investigations, they've watched the TV shows, they want to have that big experience, they want to see the shadow person, and then they see the shadow person and they're done for the night.
yep,
They're like, "Oh, I've had enough. This was more than I expected it to be." And I get it. It can be a lot, especially when you get exactly what you're asking for because you don't realize what it is you're asking for.
and that night it was like we were being surrounded by all of them. because we had motion lights sitting on each of the tree stumps. They were kicking on. We had several motion activated dolls and stuff. They were going crazy,
Mm,
and it was like they were reliving the massacre that happened.
wow.
And we've even played gunshot sounds down there, and that really kicks them up too.
Hmm.
But the very first time I went down there, a friend took me down there when I first moved to Missouri here, and during the day I was walking around looking, you could smell something dead. It smelled just like rotting flesh. And went back that night, the smell was gone. Now, if something was dead there, you would still smell it because I mean it was hot,
Yeah, that smell lingers.
and there was no more smell. It was gone. Standing there investigating, could hear something throwing rocks into the creek. Shine the light back in there. I'm expecting to see a person hiding behind a tree playing a joke on us.
Hmm.
Nothing.
Wow.
Shut the light off. You hear more rocks hitting the water. And I'm figuring maybe the embankment's falling into the creek and nothing. And there is a dense woods right behind there. There's cornfields, bean fields all around it. There's a cemetery just on the other side of the woods that sits up on a hill. And I can never track it down or explain it. And it only ever happened once while we were down there, and we've been down there probably about 4 or 5 times.
Wow.
Granzer had another question for you. How do you interpret spirit activity when there is a case like you stated? Is it a researcher that spirits are okay with, or they are calm, or is it the complete opposite, bad researcher?
Um, I think it's more just like their vibe, their energy, whether or not they mix with the spirits. I think as you become more experienced, you could kind of control that a little bit. Um, I know I change up my, how I speak, the questions I ask, depending on the location I'm at, depending on how the night's going. Um, because just like people, spirits are all different. So you kind of want to try to resonate with them. Um, so you get people who are inexperienced or they've only ever done it one way. So they do it one way. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You could tell the people who really go into it hard because you'll see that they change things up depending on how the night's going.
Uh, Tim Libby says our area around Missouri River towns are very active. Yeah, because Missouri's high in limestone and quartz and with the rivers, and we've got caves here in Missouri. So we see a lot of that paranormal activity with all that running water and that limestone. And
Oh yeah, for sure.
like Chillicothe, Missouri, all them houses are actually built over limestone and Native American burial grounds. And Granzer had another question for you. No, that's the one we just had before. I just saw another one. There it is. Says apologies if asked
Mhm.
already. Bill, your thoughts on the labeled demonic demon devil and what some researchers often use. I'm not saying it was a demon, but it was a demon type quotes.
All right. So for those who don't know, I do have my own podcast called Haunted Casket. It's on you can find it on Get Haunted. Um, our last episode, which was this previous Wednesday, I it was basically an hour and a half long rant of me talking about this exact topic. So my take on it is, and I'll preface this by saying I am not saying that demons don't exist. I'm not saying that. However, I've been all over the country, some of the most haunted places around, and I've not encountered one yet. Not saying they don't exist, but there are definitely people out there. I'm not going to mention names, Zach Baggins, who will they just think everything's a demon. And I've met multiple people like that where as soon as anything that's not completely happy, positive happens, they're like, oh, it's a demon. Or as soon as it's, you know, non-human, oh, it's a demon. It's like, no, 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 no. Demons are incredibly rare.
Yep.
You know, if you're an asshole in real life, you can be an asshole as a ghost. Or, you know, maybe you're trying to get a message across and nobody's listening and you get frustrated. People get frustrated and then they act out. Or maybe you're just, you know, a bad person. That doesn't mean you're a demon. And non-humans, I work with non-human spirits quite often. You know, you got fae, you got elementals, you have, you know, all these different things. None of them are demonic, unless you're talking about the original ancient Greek definition of the term demon, which was any non-human entity.
Yep.
So in that case, sure, they're demons, but that's not how we define it today. So that's not what we should be calling them. So no, it bothers me when that happens. And we were doing an investigation in a prison, and somebody came up to me. They were completely freaking out because they got an EVP saying that that what they were talking to a demon. And I said, well, let's think about this for a second. Is a demon going to tell you it's a demon, or is it going to try to be something else so that you will invite it in?
Exactly.
And then we're at a prison, a very violent prison. If you have a spirit who was a felon, don't you think they'd claim to be a demon to try to scare you? So do you really think you're talking to a demon, or is there somebody trying to scare you? You're like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, it's probably just somebody trying to scare me. Yeah. A demon is not going to tell you they're a demon.
No, they're not.
So as soon as they say, I'm a demon, I'm the devil, whatever, it's like, okay, now I know you're not.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, it's a term that's used quite a bit just for clickbait and views.
Yep. Yep. And yeah, and that bothers me because it sends the wrong message.
Yep.
You know, it makes people afraid. Okay, yeah, you might get more views, but you're hurting the paranormal more than helping it at that point.
Yep. Exactly. Tim Libby asked, have you had a shadow person with a aura around it, like a light surrounding it?
Not yet. I've heard a couple stories of that happening, but I've not experienced it myself yet.
Yeah, I've never experienced that either. I mean, I've seen just solid black shadow figures. I've never seen anything with a glow around it. Galactic says, bring it on, Bill. My girlfriend is a huge skeptic in the supernatural. I'm going to send her out with you two.
Let's do it. I love skeptics.
Yeah, bring it on.
Skeptics are my favorite people to investigate with. I will put them in the scariest location by themselves. And I've had dozens of skeptics come on investigations. Most of them do not leave as believers, but they leave open to the possibility. So that's a step in the right direction. But I love working with skeptics. I find it so much fun. So yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, that sounds fun. We had one when we went to Waverly. The same team that invited us to Missouri State went to Waverly, and this one guy's a skeptic, and we were letting him do the spirit box questions, and this spirit was cussing at him through the spirit box like crazy. Called him an asshole, all kinds of names, and then all the meters started going off all in sync with each other at the same time, and we get to this one lady, and that lady starts asking questions, and it says to her, "Shut up, you dumb bitch." So they asked, "What do you think about Russell?" "Oh, he's an asshole."
I've been
So
called an asshole by spirits multiple times.
my team was laughing. They were sitting there, and the other team's trying to figure out, what are we laughing about? Oh, we said that's just a term because I get called that constantly, especially on residential cases because I'm there to do a job. So my questioning's direct to the point, like, why are they
Mhm.
tormenting this family? Why are they here? And, so I'll get cussed at quite a bit on it. Good point, Kim. She says, "I think Zach brings his own demons."
I think either he's lying and making it up, or it's something attached to him, and the evil that he always finds everywhere is just with him all the time.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, he plays with fire,
Yeah.
and he's gonna eventually get burned.
Mhm.
Granzer had another question. Bill, did you already say you were your influences before you became a researcher, media show, stories from family or friends, books, or other sources?
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit. I grew up in the era of the Area 51 stuff coming out and alien autopsy and unsolved mysteries. But in terms of the paranormal itself, it was probably ghost hunters that was the biggest influence on me early on.
And then he's got another Russell and Bill. Do you have a horror face that you can show us for when YouTube asks you to post on your next research?
Like, what do you mean by a horror face? Like a scared face? Like, agree, it's not worth the views for the clickbait. I won't clickbait. Now, if I could figure out a way to do clickbait that is truthful, that's fine, but I will not mislead through clickbait.
Yep. We're the type too. When we film, what you see is what you get. If we don't catch nothing, that's what you're gonna see.
Yeah, I mean that's so one thing I've noticed with the ghost hunting shows, both the YouTube ones and the TV ones, is real so that the shows that are least popular amongst the general public are usually the most popular amongst paranormal researchers because they watch it and they're like, well, that's how it actually is. Sometimes it's boring.
Yep.
And then the really exciting ones are usually, you know, the general public loves them, but the actual paranormal researchers don't care for them because you can tell right away that either they're hyping it up, in some cases they're flat out lying, um, or that they're overdoing things to, or the editing's done weird just to make it more interesting. And it's like that's not how it really is. It's called hunting for a reason. Sometimes you sit there and you get nothing.
Yep. I don't know how many times I've started nodding off on investigations because it was just quiet.
Yeah, I've done that a couple times.
My buddy Michael's the worst for it. We were on one investigation. I was helping his group out on a residential, and we were doing an EVP session in the living room. He's sitting on the couch. Next thing you know, you hear snoring. His-
We I've I've had people go under Estes method and fall asleep.
and you hear his one that's watching the DVR camera sitting at the table. Who's snoring? I said, Michael. And then he'll wake up and be like, "What?" I said, "We're trying to do an EVP session and you're snoring. Now you're contaminating all the evidence."
So so if they fall asleep during the Estes method, I end it, I wake them up, they're done. Um, if they fall asleep during an investigation where they're not under this, they just fall asleep. My rule is at that point, everybody gets up and leaves and they stay there by themselves.
There you go.
And then they're gonna wake up by themselves in the dark in a haunted location. Don't fall asleep during an investigation.
Right? Question, Bill, your thoughts on those researchers that debunk the more popular researchers' work? It seems it's not well received by the more popular researchers. They get defensive.
So there are some debunkers out there who either don't believe in the paranormal at all, so they're going to debunk everything no matter what, or that's just how they get their views, by debunking things. Whether they believe it or not doesn't matter. They're going to debunk it for the sake of it. Those people I don't like. They're 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 either frauds or they're closed-minded.
Mhm.
Then you have people who are going to either prove or debunk depending on what's going on. They'll see a piece of research or a piece of evidence, and if they could come up with a mundane explanation for it, they're going to give it to you. If they can't, then they're like, well, I can't debunk this, or it could be this, it could be this other thing. I there's just not enough information. I fall in that camp. I try to debunk every piece of evidence I get. I'm an engineer by trade and by training. Like, I'm a very science focused. So every piece of evidence, I'm going to go in and debunk it myself. Because if I can't debunk it, then when I show it to other people, they can't either, because I've already tried. So now I have a really strong piece of evidence to show you. If I can debunk it, well, either I can debunk it in the moment and be like, oh, hey, oh, it was that thing over there. Oh, those that weird noise we saw, there's a rat running around. That's all that was. Okay, now we know we don't have to pay attention to that noise. We can move on, do other things. Um, or if I get to a point where I'm like, okay, it could be this mundane explanation or this paranormal thing. It's like, I don't know. I just got to chalk it up to, I don't know.
Your answer said, for example, I've seen a couple of videos on researchers or those who claim they are debunked. Paranormal Nightmare TV found it super interesting.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff on TV is easy to debunk because there's no context. It's just a piece of the video. There's especially those shows that are just a collection of pieces of evidence. Those are so easy to either debunk or come up with some explanation, whether it's you know actually the explanation or not. You can explain it away pretty easily, and I try to avoid those just because you can fall into that trap real easy.
Yep. Yeah, I try not to watch those paranormal YouTubers either. I mean, I've heard several on one of them that when they were at Brushy Mountain, kicked the chair across the room and call it paranormal evidence. You know,
Hmm.
so
Yeah, the only paranormal YouTubers that I watch consistently is Project Fear and Paranormal Nut. To be fair, I'm a little bit biased on Paranormal Nut because I've been in several of their videos. so so yeah, I'm a little biased on those guys, but
right. I
but
mean,
there's
some
so
of
much paranormal YouTube out there. It's hard to keep up on. I'll try to watch something here or there, but you can't keep up on all of it. You just
right.
can't.
No, you can't. I mean, I've watched Elton and them their videos when they did the Warren's Occult Museum and stuff like that.
Elton uses a lot of my equipment.
And I get that was the night that Dan moved Annabelle to that new case when they were
Hmm.
there the first time, and then I watched her second one. But I mean, from talking to Wade and all those guys, I see they pick up some legit stuff. I was just watching Elton live the other night where they were in the Warren's Occult Museum, and even Chris heard their EVP kept saying Annabelle over and over again,
Hmm.
which
Yeah, yeah.
I
My stepdaughter. I don't know if she still does. I know she used to watch him a lot. I've only watched a couple of his things, but they were using my equipment in some videos, so I had to watch those.
Kim says, gave up watching paranormal shows on TV and YouTube, got tired of the same old BS.
Yeah, yeah. I'll still watch Ghost Hunters, um, and Project Fear is different because they don't do like a typical investigation. It's more about trying to have an experience, which is kind of how I go about ghost hunting. Is I want that experience. So I like Project Fear. Ghost Hunters, they're the ones that got me into this to begin with. So I'm still
Mhm.
stay loyal to them.
Oh yeah, I was a big fan of Taps Ghost Hunters
Yeah.
in the day when they started out and stuff, and then I didn't care for Brian on there when he come running out of the prison.
No,
I think that was at Missouri State when they come running out of there.
it might have been. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I've seen that episode.
Yeah, I think it was Missouri State. They both seen that the shadow figure, and they both come running out of there and ran into Jason. And Jason said, "What the hell are you guys running from? We don't run." Granzer asked, "What all equipment do you use on your investigation?"
So if I'm doing an investigation with Get Haunted, we'll have REM pods, cat balls, spirit boxes, Ovilus, necrophonic. We run the gamut of equipment. If I'm investigating on my own, I use very, very little equipment. I might have a REM pod, a couple cat balls, and the rest of what I use is dowsing rods, pendulums, Ouija boards, things that are more like us centric as opposed to equipment. That's just my personal preference.
I'm the same way. I don't use much. I'll take my millimeter with REM pod, my digital recorder. That's pretty much what I carry.
Hmm.
You won't see me carrying very much of it. The rest of my team will use like the SLS and thermal and stuff like that.
Yeah, and as far as like the apps on the phone go, um, the only one that I trust is Necrophonic. There's a
Hmm.
couple others I'll use from time to time, but Necrophonic I consistently get good results with. It's the only one that I trust. The other, there's a handful of others that I trust them, but they're not always. You don't always get a lot with it. So sometimes I'll turn it on, just kind of put it off on the side.
Hmm.
Most of the apps though, I don't even bother with. I've either tried them and don't trust them, or I don't have enough information to be able to trust them.
Right. There was there's one I used. It's called the ITC TV box, and what it does, it's got a spirit box in it, and it scans the white noise,
Hmm.
and then it when it picks up an EMF field, it snaps a picture and pulls up a figure. I was kind of skeptical on it because it's made by Unity, who makes video games,
Hmm.
and we had it. We were using it in the Missouri State Museum, and we ended up capturing Robert Berdella, the Kansas City butcher,
Oh,
on it. Let's see if I can get the picture. I've got it in my album here, and that's what he looked like when he was alive. And Jenny was actually able to confirm it. There he is on the right.
oh wow, yeah, you can definitely see him in that.
And like I said, we were skeptical on it, and so and then when Jenny confirmed it, that gave us definite proof that that app is actually legit.
Yeah,
I know KD was very skeptical on it when I showed him because he's not much into the phone app.
yeah, yeah. I'm not much into them for the most part. There's a couple that I'll use. Like I'll sometimes use the Spirit Talker uh,
Mhm.
once in a while. I with that I either get really really good stuff or nothing at all.
Have you tried that Ghost Tube Vox one?
Yeah, I've tried that a handful of times. I've had a lot of people tell me they get great stuff with it. I've never gotten good stuff with it. So I have it on my phone. I very rarely ever touch it anymore.
We've been using it at the school, and one of my coworkers were saying something. I had it running, and it come across and said bullshit on it to her. And And then it was cussing on it, so I figured if it was a fake app or if it was running radio stations, you wouldn't be getting those cuss words.
No, probably not.
And, I mean, I don't use it very much either. I'm not much into the phone apps except for that one that I use. And I'll use Spirit Talker as well, and Necrophonic is another one I'll use.
Yeah.
I've
The
tried the Bell one. They've got a Bell app that reacts to EMF and motion.
Yeah, the necrophonic, it proved itself on one of the last home investigations I did. It was for a Jewish family, and we had been getting really good stuff with the necrophonic, so we decided to start off with that. And the family wanted to be part of the investigation, which we were fine with. So we had the necrophonic going, and to us, we thought it was just spitting out gibberish. And I look
Mm.
over at the family, and they're sitting there with their mouths open, and I'm like, what's going on? And they said, yeah, it's speaking Hebrew. Bullshit. No, it's not. Like, yeah, it's speaking Hebrew. So they translated what was coming out of the necrophonic for us. And I'm like, okay, if it's talking in their language, then there's something real with this app. So it's become something that we use often, but it's the only app that I use often. And it's like if we do an investigation on the fly where we're just kind of out somewhere and we feel like doing an investigation, then um we'll just pull that out because it's on our phones and we can do something real quick.
Right. And
Yes, that is the episode. The devil's in the details.
he also had a question. Bill, is there a spirit that you have a somewhat regular interaction with, or in your studies, it's a different spirit every time?
Yeah. So especially working with Get Haunted, we go to a lot of the same locations over and over again. So I've built relationships with some of the spirits in these locations. Um, some good, some not so good. I'll take the Shanley Hotel as a great example because I've probably been there more than any place else. There's one spirit there, Adam. He hates me. He's not a nice spirit, and he likes to try to intimidate people, and he does not intimidate me, especially after I've been there this many times. So he doesn't like me. He doesn't want to talk to me. He doesn't want to deal with me. He doesn't like it when I'm in his room. Just he wants nothing to do with me. On the flip side, there's a spirit there, Maddie. Uh, she's taken a liking to me. You know, she's invited me into her room multiple times. When I sleep in her room, it's probably some of the best sleep I ever get because it's just I feel so safe in there. I feel like I'm very protected in there. And she's also the only spirit to ever come home with me. And I had invited her to come because we had built up a rapport. So I said, if you ever want to come visit me at my house, you're more than welcome to. And once she did.
Mhm.
I was because sometimes we'll do investigations here at the house because we haven't, um, some haunted objects here. And yeah, we time we were doing the investigation and Maddie started coming through. I'm like, oh, you came to visit. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's my house. I've done investigations in my house because my house has got 3 confirmed deaths. My mom passed away here, and then, 3 former owners passed away here.
Oh wow.
One man was killed on the property. He had a trailer here, and he was killed in the 70s, 1975 tornado. He was in the
Ooh.
shower, didn't hear the tornado siren, and they found him just outside of town here in the rock quarry, still in the shower.
Oh wow.
And then one owner, he passed away here from cancer, and then my mom passed away here from cancer. And I haven't my mom's urn up on the china closet, and so I set up a camera, and I set up a full spectrum camera, and you see all these light anomalies just dancing around her urn. About 3 o'clock in the morning, one comes out, flies past the camera into the kitchen, out there for a few minutes, and then it flies backwards, goes down the hallway right to the bedroom.
Wow. Well,
And
that's pretty
she
cool.
that was her routine. She would get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, make her coffee, That's the time she would get up in the morning, have her coffee, and then she'd go back to bed.
Oh, wow. That, you know, having, I'm not a huge orb guy, but when you have, an orb like that where it, does certain things and it lines up with a known routine, that lends a lot of credibility to it.
Yep. And I've talked to her on Spirit Box in here. The same night she passed away, I talked to her on it. And I tested her. I asked her only something she would know, and she answered it correctly, and you could hear it was her voice.
That's pretty cool. Oh,
And
that's fantastic.
she still comes to visit once in a while and checks up on us. She's been spotted on cases with me. Medium spotted her. We went to a client's house to check on them, see how they were doing, and this client had abilities, and she says, "Who's the tall lady standing next to you with brown hair, blue eyes?" And she kind of got her arm around you, kind of like protecting you. She, I said, "You just described my mother."
Wow.
So she follows around. She'll come back and pick on my dad quite a bit too. I was out on an investigation, and it was cold, so my dad didn't go because he's not much for the cold anymore. But we were doing this 1800s house, and my dad was ready to call me to have me come home because everything in the kitchen, the pans were rattling. And I got home and he told me about it. He says, "Yeah, your mom was aggravating me. She was rattling the pans." I said, "Yeah, she was just coming through saying hi to you." And I asked her on the spirit box, I said, "Are you trapped here?" And she says, "No, I'm not trapped." I
Well,
said, "I
that's
don't
good.
want you to be trapped here. You can come and visit, but I don't want you to be trapped here." And she assured me she wasn't trapped. So,
Well, that's good.
but we had another interesting one night. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. My dad's sound asleep. I was sleeping, and I hear a loud bang against my bedroom door. So I thought my dad was just playing a joke on me or something. I get up. I find one of my dog's toys in the hallway.
Ooh.
And we had just done an investigation the night before. And so I get up. He heard it. He got up, and I said, "Did you throw something at my door?" And he says, "No, I was sleeping." You could see his eyes were, he'd just woken up. And the dog's toy was in a box where we kept them. And I said, "This toy just hit my door." He says, "I told you there was something in this house." And I said, "Wherever it is, if you followed me from an investigation, you better go back where you came from because I know how to get rid of things like you."
Mm-hmm.
And after that, silence. Never heard another peep out of it. So I think it tagged along with us from somebody's house,
Yeah, probably.
and went, it left, but it couldn't get back in the client's house because when we do a cleansing, we seal a client's house up so they can't get back in.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of like my earlier years before I started kind of cleaning my car after we leave and pulling out all the equipment because we'll pull off on the side of a road, start cleansing the car, the equipment, us. So if it is attached with us, it stays there right there on the side of the road.
Yeah.
And but we're gonna go ahead and get ready to wrap up. If people want to get a hold of you for investigations, paracons,
Yeah. So you could find us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram under Empty Casket Paranormal. Then we have our website, emptycasketparanormal.com. So if you're interested in any of the equipment that I make, we have a store on there. You can go check things out. We also do repairs and custom work. So if you have something you want to get repaired or you want something done custom, just shoot me a message and we'll talk. And then for our Ouija board museum, it's ectalkingboardmuseum.com. And we have a virtual museum up there with showing off our collection of boards, which I need to update that because I'm about 30 boards behind on getting stuff up there. Um, and then we have our the history of the Ouija board up there, and I'm working on the myth and superstition section, getting that cleared up and put up there. The best place, though, for knowing where we're going next would be Facebook. We keep that updated with where we're heading.
All right. And you can also check them out at Rock Island Roadhouse Historic Expo in
Yep.
Illinois here in October.
So we will have our biggest setup to date at Rock Island. And in addition to that, we were going to be doing 2 scrying sessions throughout the day. Those are going to be limited availability, so it's going to be first come, first serve. We'll have a sign up at our table. So come see us. You can sign up for the scrying session or one of the 2 scrying sessions, and we'll have some fun.
Awesome. And we'll be there as well. We're both actually, I see Rob put us both in the basement.
Excellent.
Yep, we're just right down the line from you in the basement.
Good. Yeah, you have to come by and check out our setup.
Figures he shoves us down in the most active place.
Yeah, for sure.
I think Nesper's down there too.
I believe so. I think we are either right across from Nesper or like catty corner from Nesper. So you can come down and see Nesper's setup. You can see our Ouija board museum. And if you have a little extra time, go see Russell.
Yep. Yeah, we'll be right there as well. And then again, they're looking for volunteers. If anybody's interested, reach out to Candy Slater and get haunted. Even if you can't get a hold of Kaylee or Sarah, get a hold of Rob.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, the Warren's Occult Museum will be there. It's gonna be a little hard without Dan being there, but I know he'll be there in spirit.
He will. Yeah.
But I know they said they're gonna continue carrying on, so
Yeah, I'm sure that's what Dan would want.
yeah, he wouldn't want them to quit, and that's what I even told those guys. And I said anything I can do to help, I will too. And let's see, we'll be wearing our shirts there, the legends. All Nesper's autographs are all over the shirts. Yeah, Tony, Dan, Wade, Chris, Brian Buell, Father Bob Bailey. And we were at
Nice.
Warren's Paracon. Jason McLeod, he's the one that made these.
Oh, nice.
So, all right, if you want to hang backstage for a minute, I'm going to wrap the show up, and I'll be with you in a minute.
All righty. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. All right, guys, thanks for joining tonight and tuning in. Hope you guys found it informational. Bill's a great guest. Be sure to tune in next week. We got another great guest coming on. Remember, if you're being bullied in the paranormal field, you have a voice. Don't be afraid to speak out. And if you need someone to talk to, we're here for you. And no judgment here. We support you guys, and we're against the bullying in the field as well. So, with that being said, everybody have a good night. God bless, and we will see you all next week, same time, same channel. Have a good night, everybody.